Hi ADHD friends, ready to become gutsy cooks? Let's start now. Today we're going to make flourless peanut butter cookies. The great thing about these cookies is you can make them low sugar too. Some of us have issues with sugar, some of us don't. And some of us do have issues with sugar but don't want to admit it. My son actually prefers these cookies with the monkfruit sweetener instead of sugar. I think he prefers them also because they don't trigger him or make him feel badly afterwards. So something to consider. All around though, these are a great peanut butter cookie, only 5 ingredients for my 5 ingredient or less fans. And let's get started. Gather your equipment, ingredients, and yourself. The equipment and ingredients you'll need are on this slide. This is a good time to pause the slide if you want to gather your equipment or ingredients. If you want to let it run, usually I give some tips and tricks along the way. I read these out loud for our visually impaired friends. First, you'll need a baking sheet and parchment paper. The parchment paper is optional. You can use an ungreased cookie sheet because there is a high amount of oil in the peanut butter. A mixing bowl. Little bowls for measuring out your ingredients, measuring spoons, measuring cups, a hand mixer, ruler, fork, and wire rack. Then you'll need 1 cup of natural peanut butter. This is the kind of peanut butter without sugar. If you have another low sugar peanut butter that you like, go for it. Any peanut butter will do. 1 cup of light brown sugar, 2 egg whites, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 cup of mini chocolate chips. The chocolate chips are also optional. I have these items starred here because you can use a sugar alternative like monkfruit sweetener, which is a 1-to-1 replacement with regular sugar. And you can also eliminate the chocolate chips to make this recipe sugar-free or close to, depending on the peanut butter that you use. Get ready. In this step, we prepare. Turn the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, if you are going to line the baking sheet with parchment paper, go ahead and do that now. I recommend that you cut the parchment paper so that it fits on, the baking sheet and it won't slide around so much. Then you're going to measure the peanut butter directly into the mixing bowl. Finally, measure the remainder of the ingredients into little bowls, just like you're on a cooking show. That way you're prepared and ready to go in the combine step. Combine. This is the step where people feel like they're really cooking. In this step, you see that we already have the peanut butter in the mixing bowl. You're going to beat the peanut butter and sugar together with the hand mixer, counting to 30. It's important to get them really combined, even everything up on the edges. Then you're going to add your egg whites and your baking soda. I here have added the egg whites separately. You can do them separately or together. The most important thing with this recipe is that everything is very well combined. If you do not mix this long enough, you will taste egg white or you will taste baking soda. So really mix, counting to 30. Count slowly to 30. Don't rush it. Okay? Once it looks like this, and it is going to look a little pebbly, but because of the oil in the recipe, it will mush together into nice balls. Here, I want to remind you, I already did, but mix the dry ingredients well. No one wants a mouthful of bitter baking soda. And also, please wash your hands. There is raw egg in this recipe, as well as any of the bacteria on your hands. Before you make and after you make the cookie balls, I want you to wash your hands, okay? Say, not today, food poisoning. Not today. Not doing that. All right, with clean hands, you're going to roll the cookie batter into 1-inch balls. And the reason I say, this does not have to be precise, but there is a difference between 1 and 2 inches. And you can do 1 to 2 inches. That's up to you. The reason we like smaller balls with this recipe is because we're really depending on the oven temperature to dry out the cookies. instead of the flour. So you want to make smaller cookies when you make flourless peanut butter cookies, okay? Otherwise, you'd really have to adjust your baking time, and you risk burning it when you increase that baking time. So for this recipe, 1-inch balls, and make sure they are 2 inches apart. You do not want them to spread out and then touch each other. Once all of your cookie balls are on the cookie sheet, you're going to take the fork and press it flat on top of the cookie in one direction and then in the other, making a grid pattern just like the classic peanut butter cookie style you're used to. Heat. In this step, we're going to go ahead and get things in the oven. You're going to bake in the oven for 10 minutes. Set a timer or 2 timers like I always recommend for those 10 minutes. These cookies are not going to spread out like you usually would see a cookie. And because they are brown, you're not looking for brown. This makes it really important that you adhere to the timer for 10 minutes. Otherwise, you will end up kind of browning and overcooking the peanut butter, and that burnt taste will come sooner than you think. Finish and serve. Remove the baking sheet from the oven and look. Okay, they did spread out a little bit, and you can see a little bit of brown around the edges. I'll admit when I'm wrong. This next step is really important. You need to let the cookies rest on the baking sheet for 5 minutes. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Once they've cooled, you can transfer the cookies to the wire rack and allow them to cool longer, or you can eat them. You can see here I'm scooping them right onto the plate. If you are going to store them, then I do recommend putting them on the wire rack and letting them cool completely. Otherwise, they're going to get a little bit mushy from condensation if you just put them right into the storage container. So there you have it, flourless peanut butter cookies, and you can make them low sugar too. For my 5-ingredient fans, these have 5 ingredients or less. If you like this recipe, please subscribe. Thank you for your time and attention. Now go get gutsy.